So in this video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take raw material, and I got some angle down there and a couple other things, and we're gonna make ramp extensions for the new trailer that was in the last video. So cars can go up the ramps without damaging the front end. And I will show examples in this video of what we got going. So I plan on fabricating them up, making sure that they're what we're looking for, and then sending them off to be powder coated. And when I'm fabricating them, I'm gonna make brackets up to mount them on the trailer, and I'll show you that too. So first thing we're gonna do is I've got this truck in the garage now, and it's kind of a tight fit. And so I'm gonna go ahead and take this mirror off because I don't plan on reusing it or using that kind of mirror. So we're gonna take it off so it makes a little more room to walk around. You don't have to worry about hitting it. So here we go. All right, so we're gonna try this video shot here. So this is what I'm using for the side rails on it. It's a 1x2 channel. I've got 2 sticks of it. That should be just over 8 foot for that one, which is a little long for what I asked for, but that's okay. Eight foot 1 inch. All right, so what I'll do is I'll find the halfway point in these, and I'll cut them right on the halfway mark. That way I have 2 that are the exact same. And the ramps that I'm basing this off of came with my gooseneck trailer. So it had these pegs that would catch a rung, and I'll show you what I mean. But we've got some square stock that I'm going to cut into 4 pieces that will do that process. All right, now we got the angle pieces. It's 2 by 2 by 1/4 inch thick, and we're going to be cutting them at 19 inches long. So when you turn that, so the point is facing one end and the tips are facing the other end of the channel, it'll actually slide in between this 2-inch channel. And then you can weld it into this channel, and that will help support everything. We're going to start off with cutting 2 pieces of 19 inches long, and I will tack that into place, kind of making a square, and then I'm going to move outside and lay it down and see how that fits. And I only want to tack it so I can cut it apart, and then if it's too narrow I can cut it apart, or too wide I can cut it apart and narrow it. And if it's right, I can cut a bunch more of the 19-inch long pieces, cut out the one, and slide everything into place. I should have about 7 of these per side. All right, I got the first one marked out. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. And then what I'll do to make sure it's always the exact same is I'll move it and lay it on top. And this will be my template for everything, if it all works out right. And now, I guess it's now it's time to clean up, because I think I'm gonna do the rest of it on this bench. So I'll bring you back once this is all cleaned up, and I'll show you what I'm doing. All right, I got it all cleaned up. I set this up there, measured it out, set it in place. And the best way to measure it, to make sure it's square, is go from far corner to far corner and far corner to far corner in an X shape, and make sure they come up the same measurements. And they did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay a couple small tacks that should hold all this together, and then go out and make sure it lays kind of how I want it to. So there it is, kind of laid out in place. You can see where it fits between that rail and that rail, which is perfect. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the slope of the ground here makes it really unnecessary for these ramps. It doesn't really showcase why I have to do it, but sitting it here, you can see kind of what it'll be if the back of the trailer wasn't so close to the ground. It would be the vehicle start hitting it here. It'll help it get up instead of clear into there. So now what I gotta do is I gotta cut one of these out so I can use them as a template, cut all my other pieces, and start welding them. I'm just gonna tack weld these together so they're in place, and then I'll move on to the next step. So I just cut my tack welds, and now I can use this piece as a reference, and I can just go and cut, move it down, cut, move it down, cut, move it down, is work it through all of this angle that I've got, and that should give me all my pieces I need, and I can start welding everything together. So here we go. All right, I've got all the angle cut now, and the first one kind of in place with all the pieces in the middle. So what I'm going to do is weld the two ends and have the ends welded, and then take measurements and move the center sections so they are evenly spaced. All right, so I've got it all measured out. So they're, other than this one, they're identical. I'm like 1/8 of an inch off being equal to every single one of them. I'm not worried about 1/8 of an inch for the purpose this serves. There it is, all tacked together. Obviously I gotta go and bomb all these in, get all these welded around so they're good and stiff. I only have really have the trailer here for a little while because it's just not very easy to store it here. So I'm gonna make sure I get all my specifications figured out before I take the trailer back. So instead of going through and making the next one to this point, I have all my angles cut and my sides cut. These are spare pieces I was using to hold this off the table. Now I'm going to go out and figure out where to put these to catch where they need to go. And once I get that figured out, I'm going to use this 1/2 inch rebar, or 1/2 inch round stock is what it is, and do something that the other ramps didn't have. So hopefully that'll help keep it from, once you get to the end of the ramp where you're about to roll onto the next ramp, it doesn't tip and come up towards the vehicle you're pulling the trailer onto. But for now, these are my problem. Got to get those cleaned up so they'll sit nice and flat on this, and go out and figure out where I want to put the place it. So basically what they are is they're just a piece of triangle or rectangle square stock, words, that's 3/4 by 3/4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld them to the bottom side of the C channel that are on the sides, and I'll place them where it won't slide back. If I place it right here as the vehicle comes up, and say it catches traction and tries to pull this that way, and it doesn't grip the ground back there, this will hit this cross member of this ramp. So it will catch there and it won't allow it to slide back. And you want it far enough in a position where if this were at a lesser angle, say right there, these fronts won't hit this cross member, but these will still be able to catch this one. I'm thinking we can just mark them with a Sharpie, and then I'll just hold them up there with a clamp and weld them in place. So what I did was I ground down the angles of one side of those and left the other one pretty square. I cleaned up the edges on it so there was no burrs or anything, but for the most part it's still pretty square. Now I did the angle so I can put it against this and clamp them down, and I have something to really weld into. Gives you more of a contact pattern between the the two pieces of material. You can weld and fill. That way you get a better contact, less likely to break it off later. But it does make them pretty hot. So you got to be careful while you're handling them now. So what I'll do is take one of them and take a C-clamp You can see there's the mark I made before, and I've got it just inside that mark. So now I should be able to weld that piece so it won't fall off, and do the same thing on the bottom side there. I'm just adjusting it so it looks pretty square. try to stiffen this up a little bit. I think it's got a little bit of wobble I can take care of if I just do a little more tacking on these. So we're going to get to welding. Nice. They sound a lot more solid now. That's my last piece. I don't know how I'm gonna, it's not my last piece, but this is my last structural piece that I want to add. And what I want to do is I'll cut this in half and probably cut a notch in the end that it will hang out of, and then I'll bend these around so it'll make it like a hook. And my plan is they'll hook around the existing ramps, and as the vehicle goes up, the tipping point is when the wheel starts to put weight on this final rung, and the last rung it sits on is here on the actual ramps of the trailer, so it likes to tip up. So I want to put this in at the end, so when the vehicle puts the weight on here and it starts to tip, this hits the ramps of the trailer and keeps it from doing that. So let's go see how this lays on the trailer. There, even with my weight. Doesn't do it too bad, but if I can take that out altogether, that's even better. Alright, I got my 1/2 inch rod cut in half. I'm thinking if I just notch the channel right in the middle, that'll give me kind of what I'm looking for. But I won't be able to reach everything I want to weld for this piece of angle. So I'm going to go ahead and weld that before I go any further. All right. So what I'm planning on doing is welding this in here, and I want these ends to bend down to create hooks, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to bend this rod yet. I don't exactly have a bender for that, and it's getting kind of late. I've got work in the morning, so I'm going to call it a night and ponder on this, and maybe I'll come back with a really good solution, or maybe I won't. I don't know, but I probably will. So I'm gonna call it a night. I'm gonna get some things moved around outside and go get ready for work tomorrow. All right, we're back, and we're trying to bend this 1/2-inch rod. I've got the other ramp right there with the ends already bent. So this is how I did it. I took the rod and I marked, I don't know if you're gonna be able to pick that up in camera or not, the 1/2 inch or halfway mark there, line it up so I could measure out to the ends where I want them to still be straight. You can kind of see the marks there. And then, so I have right where the inside of the bend needs to be. Like it can't be, the bend can't start any further in than that. And I'll show you how I bent it. So here we go. And we'll line up the halfway mark with the halfway mark of that, so it should be perfectly where I wanted it. Because I marked the ramps middle line and the bars middle line before I did anything. So we'll grab, make sure everything's out of the way. So I welded all the way around the 1/2-inch rod, and I welded it and filled in here so I can grind it smooth. And I'm going to take this plate, get the sides cleaned up, cut it down to size, and I'm just going to cap the channels. So that way there's no sharp points to dig into anything. The sharpest points are ground fairly smooth. I'm just going to put caps on the other ramp just like that, and finish weld them out. So pretty boring stuff. What I'll do is bring you back once I go to my parents' house, because what I want to do before I get them powder coated is make sure that they work. So I don't have to make any modifications or anything on them before powder coating. Because if I just send them off for powder coating and then get them back and then try them, there's a chance that they need to be modified. And I would hate to do all this work, get them powder coated, and then have to cut them, modify them, and then have to send them back out for powder coating. So test the bare metal version before I finish. And then that way I can also look at maybe ways to mount them too. So I'll pick you back up later. See ya. All right, here's how the car pulls up to it without the ramps. Stop. So you can see that the front bumper is actually, he pulled it forward a little too far. The front bumper is actually starting to touch the ramps, but there's about 3 or 4 inches before the tires even start to touch the ramps. So it would cause front end damage if you tried to do it without any extra ramp to it. So here's both ramps in place on the trailer, fully welded. Let's go ahead and show you what it looks like when the car pulls up on with the trailer, onto the trailer with the ramps. Can you go guide him? See, we got plenty of room. Between the bumper and the tires are starting to hit the ramp. As it goes up the ramp, we get more room on the bumper. All sorts of clearance, even on the back, all the way up. And there it is on the trailer without getting any damage, and the toolbox has got everything in it that I would strap it down with if I had to move it anywhere. So I'd always got everything I need with me, and I can move even low vehicles like this and not have a problem. So next thing we got to do is mount these ramps somewhere on the trailer, and so they're always with the trailer and not taking up any deck space. Thanks for watching. Bye.